it's fine. I'm super excited though, because we're playing a game I found out about literally yesterday. So I was watching Will Overguard stream. If you don't follow Will, like long time veteran of the games industry, super cool bloke. Having a and he was showcasing this game, right? Talking about it from like indie publishing sites, and I was looking at it. Okay, Wolfie. I was looking at it, and I was like, archive, you say? Early builds of games, you say? Yes, I know exactly what I am doing. And it is picking up and playing it immediately. So, here's the deal. Landfall is a Swedish game dev studio known for totally accurate battle simulator. And this, the Landfall Archive, is a collection of just sort of leftover snippets that they've had of various projects by various members of the team. So, like, very, very early prototypes, vertical slices, proof of concepts, a bunch of really interesting stuff on that front. Is that a cast on my arm? No, it's just a brace. I have maybe slightly fucked up my wrist, so I'm putting it in a brace just for safety. I'm not seriously injured. I've stretched a little. I sat at a computer awkwardly a little bit too much, and so it needs to spend some time. It needs to be okay, because I don't want to actually injure myself. So, yeah. Turns out, if I sit like Claude while typing, I may get a lot of typing done, but it's not good for you. So, we're trying to be better. But yeah. We are going to hang out, explore this. I think there's 20-something different bits of demos. So, we may not get through all of them today, because that would be silly. But what we are going to do is we're going to first look at, the broad framing device of it being an archive. And then we're going to take a look at some of it, do like some Archeo Gaming stuff, Archeo Gaming perspectives. Oh, Steve says hi. If you are in Steve's chat, say hi back from me. And Lucia, good to see you as well. So, yeah, let's just hop straight in. We can waffle while we're playing, because I'm confident I can multitask. So, as always, if you do enjoy this, make sure you hit that follow button, and bring some friends over, and all that fun stuff. We're gonna do some like game studies theory stuff today, so that's exciting. And if you really like this, do consider supporting the channel by hitting that subscribe button, either using your Twitch Prime subs, or by subscribing, sharing bits, all that stuff goes straight back into the channel, helps keep the lights on, keep me making new stuff, so it is super appreciated. I know, like right now we've not been streaming as much as we usually have. That's because there's big editing projects that are happening, so that content, it's not like I'm spending less time on content, it's just going into back-end work. So yeah, without further ado then, why don't we boot up the Landfall archives. With a bit of luck, this would load up correctly. Magistrissa, hold on. Oh, I loaded up right where I was, not as... No. Hold R to clear progress. Yeah. Alright. Now let's look over here. And you can see the, terrifying peek behind the curtain. I need to turn off the music, huh? Let's turn off the music for now. I think we'll need it again in a little bit. Because not every demo is going to have sound. Because not every demo should have sound. But anyway, drama. Hello, AC. You are still designing that Beast Clever outfit in Final Fantasy XIV, I assume? And Zoe, thank you for the 12 months, a whole year of Prime, currently on an 8-month streak. Super appreciated. Glad to have you. It will be your FF14 Blorbo. Knew it. So, this isn't just the shell for the demos, which is fascinating and weird. But you know, we got dropped off in that extremely mil-spec helicopter in the snowy wastelands of what used to be Sweden. There's a bingo in there somewhere. So these are all cutting room floor content? No. A lot of this is like proof of concepts, internal dev projects, vertical slices of games that then got made, and then there is a very early 2017 build of Totally Accurate Battle Simulator that may or may not crash. So this is like a collection of weird things that may or may not have been originally ever designed to see like public consumption that have been released as a sort of archive. And by archive, I mean giant underground vault. Ponder thy orbs. So, the immediate thing that this reminds me of is the archive of botanical specimens, right? The supposed Greenlandic project in the Cold War to just kind of create a permafrosted record of, well, Earth's biodiversity, so that if we blew up everything in nuclear apocalypse, there would be a repository of seeds of like to help regrow things. So, right, that's the sort of thing of the giant underground hyper-protected vault that also Stargate, that I see this as being like most part of. And then we get in here. The multiple doors makes me want to hear Cave Johnson voiceovers. True. Man, I wish I could afford a lighting setup like this. Rows upon rows upon rows upon rows. Oh. Upon invisible wall. The file cabinets also makes you think of Brazil, the movie. Yeah, that is a great shout right there. That is a fantastic shout out. To be like, yeah, you know, this like post-apocalyptic dystopia of bureaucracy and filing cabinets and paper. Absolutely, Brazil is a great shout out here. But like a whole insane wall of just infinite filing cabinets. And you know, there's a little bit of implied storytelling. Right? of that in this super secure sealed vault in the middle of the wasteland that was inactive until we hit the button. Someone else has already been here and found some stuff and stolen some stuff. And I don't suppose I don't have a way to crouch or zoom in on these. Let's just look more closely. I think it is all the same. No. I can't tell. It is not all the same text. There's a few different pages here. No idea what's on them. It looks like it's either screenplay formatting or it's literally printed out code. Like, it's one of those two. But what it actually is, not able to be seen. Ooh, we have the atmospheric graphics, or the less atmospheric graphics. So yeah, our archive is then 9 billion file cabinets with disorganized paper, with a bunch of kind of strewn ideas, and with old tapes that are the demos for the different games. This is what I officially call an aesthetic. Fair enough, since it's center aligned, it's not just printed out code. That's fair enough. But yeah. All of this material that we have, there is no shortage of it. No shortage at all of it. Was apparently haphazardly stored in filing cabinets with basically nothing in them, with no discernible organization, and accompanied by just random bits of paper, which is extremely interesting. And to me, it says a lot about, what is the space of an archive. Also, right, how capital A archive does this feel? Does this look right here feel? Like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much of the archival aesthetic is this? Looks like it was in archive. I see, Squire. It needs collapsible. It needs collapsible storage. That is a fact. 3, not enough awful fluorescent lighting. Magistrate, you don't have to come for us that hard. I mean, it's true. But come on. Why you got to do us like this? A strong 7.5 out of 10. Windowless basement, very normal. Yeah, no, that part checks out. Windowless basement with dubious lights. No, that is 100% archival right there. But right, this is, I think, officially pretty fucking archival. At least, right, it's what feels super archival. Top secret government archive where right, this is Raiders of the Lost Ark. This is the Area 51 storage space where untold treasures hide. This is only one work table though. Exactly. Like in Raiders, like in this giant artifact warehouse, access is effectively a non-concern because no one is here. This is an archive exclusively of and for stuff, and access is relegated to the literal bare minimum of one computer at one tiny desk with no room for taking notes. So, realistically, right, this is not an archive. The computer works by magic, don't worry. The computer does work. See? Don't worry about it. The computer definitely works. But right, they're a little bit floppy disks. They're not 100% floppy disks. Also, they almost remind me of like Commodore 64 disks. But yes, right, extremely old tiny. Don't copy that floppy. You wouldn't download a car. But yeah, right, a blocky computer of the kind that we haven't seen in like 30... Literally, these were out of style when I was a kid. Like, a little kid. So, like, pushing, what, 25 to 30 years out of style? No, I was the cool kid growing up. I had the translucent purple iMac. So, I mean, I was the coolest of kids at the ripe old age of 3. The deep test house with the blue and the orange Macs. Exactly. You watched the original Star Wars on VHS? I have the 1995 VHS editions. So, yes. But right, like, this is not actually how an archive gets organized. Firstly, there's no goddamn labels on anything. Secondly, while there are filing cabinets, right, there's absolutely filing cabinets in an archive. Archives aren't really that used, or filing cabinets aren't really that common in archives. For the most part, Hollinger boxes are the way to go. We have so many more Hollinger boxes and cardboard crates than we do filing cabinets, because turns out metal is bad for a lot of stuff, especially when metal starts rusting. So all this is to say, this is a popular conception of the archives, and one that archives have not done a good job on breaking down and complicating, but archives are made by people and for people, and the endless wall of inaccessible filing cabinets, wow, a heckin' great aesthetic. Not... My advice to the archivists who built this thing is that you really should have hired a different architect. But enough about the archives. We are doing Archeo Gaming. Oh. Play. How does this... Now, how does this work? Does this open up another window? Is that... Is that what happens? It is what happens. I understand. So, I'm going to have to add a new window capture. Here. That's exciting. Please hold. I did not know what to expect from this. and it did not necessarily capture or find window of same height. Hopefully that'll work. And then we'll pull this down. And we'll pull this down. And we'll pull this down. Don't worry. It's all fine now. And then we'll make this the appropriate size, which is to say smaller than this. Oh, come on. The buttons are only slightly cursed. Don't be like that. Though, I do seem to have wound up in the void, which is probably not optimal. I seem to be stuck in Infinite Fog of War, so let me quit out of this and then we'll reload it and we'll try that again, huh? Come on, capture, please. No? Oh boy. This is going to be a whole difficulty, isn't it? Oh dear. Okay, let me change this. Let me try to do this in a... Oh, it worked. It worked. We're good. We live. Hello. Welcome to Physics Survival. It has no audio. Let me put on some tunes. Tunes. Put resource in circle to gain resource. Drag to select units. Where is the circle? There is the circle. Hello, please. No? Collect? Collect? Some of them do have audio. I do have it on good authority that at least a few of these have audio. That being said, I'm not sure what's actually happening here. Supposedly move his right mouse button, but I'm not selecting units. Oh, there we go. Okay. Are you going to put down the resource? Put down the There we go. Ah! It went to space. Why did it go to space? New. It got raptured. So, what the hell is this? This is a demo called Physics Survival. So this is basically using totally accurate battle simulators, goofy physics, as a prototype for a very goofy friend. For a very goofy physics crafting game. So we'll see if I can fling myself effectively against deer. Go, go, go. Oh, that deer is fully stuck in a rock. Let's go. Now. Get over here. But right, this is effectively extremely silly. I think that's a very safe way to say that, right? This is silly. This is, in a lot of ways, exactly what you might, expect from what the name suggests of a totally accurate battle simulator, but for... I stabbed it. But for a survival genre. Whee! And so, like, I don't know, this is kind of extremely unsurprising. But what's cool about this, right, is that this is that came out of nowhere. This is a sort of, like, bit of the genre that we don't see, like, ever. There's a lot of early access survival games. There's even some comedy survival games. Like, I don't know. I wouldn't exactly, even though Don't Starve is extremely, dark, I wouldn't exactly call it super serious. Because the point is kind of die sillily. But there's, like, 5 bajillion different, like, early access crafting games. This is a level of early that you don't see. And so, really, this is stripped down to its most bare bones, right? It has a physics engine. It has crafting. And by crafting, I mean it has... It has friends. My friends! What happened to them? It may be a bit jank. Early access crafting survival game, the precursor to early access Souls-likes on Steam. True. But right, this is a level of basic where you can really see exactly what assumptions they're making. Alright? Guess what? This is vaguely, like, what? Pseudo-tropical, pseudo-neolithic, right, caveman. So technically this is a historical game. I am adding the music myself. All the music is coming from Spotify or Overclocked Remix's Spring Break album, which seems very seasonally appropriate. The Gazelle says Savannah. The Neanderthal says Neanderthal. The palm trees also, I'm not sure. My guy's broken. His legs are broke. Right, technically, by any metric, this is actually a historical game. Very sort of. And so, like, yeah, gives off strong Age of Empires Stone Age vibes. And yet we see this level of assumptions as like the most basic level of what being a game. There's a crafting menu. I mean, it's not good, but there is a crafting menu. There is a physics engine. It's not helping me, but it exists. And there are some assumptions as like an implied narrative of being quasi or pseudo Neolithic. And so, right, we get it as like this extremely early glimpse as to what assumptions are being made in here. And that's fun. It's also broken, so, you know. Do with that what you will. Yee! Hmm. Robinson Crusoe style survivalism? Potentially, yeah. You could see it as like a lost continent or what is that? Whatever. One of the Hollow Earth dinosaur ones or Robinson Crusoe instead. And be like, yeah, that is a thing. Weird that no one's made a Robinson Crusoe survival crafting game. You know, well, Swiss Family Robinson comes to my mind more than Crusoe does. Um, yeah, yeah. The fact that there's been no explicit adaptation of those novels into games is super weird. Is my wrist okay? Yeah. It's not a bad thing, but like, I mean, there's a ton of games that are obviously working in its lineage. Like, I mean, The Forest is basically just that. Any like, I stranded on a random ass island. Raft is like that. Arguably, Subnautica's like that. The Forest is like that. Uh, all of those are working in the lineage of those novels. But yeah, none of them have actually just taken the framework of the novels. That's interesting. I don't know why that is. Huh. True, the Forest is just Robinson Crusoe amping up the cannibalism. Exactly. Anyway, this demo that you're definitely seeing is called Medieval America, and I'm not sure why it's frozen. Is because it's picking up the other thing. Let's try that again. We've got to have a better way of doing this. Let me try something here. Let's see if I can get a better Let's do it. This is going to be spooky. For a moment. Don't worry about it. Not that one. Not that one. Interesting. Never mind. It's not Oh, it's not registering the right one because I'm not doing that. There we go. This is fine. Everything continues to be fine. Ignore the duplication. So now if I do this, it just works. We love that. And you can see exactly how many windows I have open. That's only somewhat spooky. That's okay. Quick match. Ah. Ow. No! I have a rocket booster. No. Haha. Oh. Huh? I'm confused. I'm dead. I think. But my corpse can go into space. Interesting. No, I think there are only 2 players right now. I think it's just having a time. I think the game may just be having a time. So, I mean, we're in a stage of polish where the map doesn't even exist yet. Where none of that exists stably. Yeah. By the way, that one's called Medieval America. I don't know why. Guns are medieval weapons. Well, specifically, 6-shooters are medieval weapons. But yeah, right, it's a Gang Beast, like, Smash Brothers, like, 3D stickman thing. So, that's already interesting and strange and weird. But hey, it does give you a sense as to, right, what is the very earliest stage of a multiplayer concept, though, right? Like, what is the veriest earliest stage of an actual, like, usable concept? So, there's physics, and there's stuff smooshed together to make physics, and there's kind of raggedy guys. And that's it. That's all that there is. Not yet. Another multiplayer game. I see. There is... Yes, quite. No, this is Counter-Strike. Oh. What do you mean, the vampires just win? I don't think I'm the vampire. I think we just are losing a lot. Let me throw. Again, these are supposed to... Yes, quite. Something is happening. I don't know what that something is, but it's definitely something. Well. Nothing is happening. I'm not doing anything. Like... I'm not getting to play the game, that's for sure. The vampires are just beating us all the time. Oh, that's because there's no other players. It's literally only me right now. There's literally no one else around, so... Like, it's like, hey, guess what? Exciting. But yeah, it looks like it's like a Counter-Strike / tank game, but it's technically vampires versus vampire hunters. With then some sort of cutscene component to it if it was a fleshed out game. Neat. Counts and stakes. Well, I guess that makes that part make sense. We'll see some like a kind of competitive Hotline Miami. Yeah, now that I understand what's actually happening with it, yeah, that could be just like a round. I could also see some sort of like goofy, like semi-procedural, like summary of what's the impromptu narrative of we are hunting Count Dracula and all that stuff. And be like, oh yes, and at this time, the vampires did this, and it was great. And right, instead of just having like the duck game or rounds, where it's like, score update, ba 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 ba, just the ducks eating their own heads, at something. I could imagine doing some sort of more narrative thing with that. But like, that's a super duper 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 early thing, right? That's super duper early. And, you know, as we think about archeo gaming, of doing archaeology in and of games, I think there's an open and very interesting question of, like, what is the... Oh. Nah. What is the archaeological value of... Oh. I was already in the thing. Okay. What is the archaeological value of... Whee. I don't know. Where's that word go? Where's that sentence going? I guess, like, what's the core value? What are you doing up there? Oh, I am tapping out on accident. You can scroll... Oh. Interesting. I mean, it's a builder game, right? We're building an airship. Theoretically. Emphasis on theoretically. With a bit of luck, that won't be murder death. Right, with a bit of luck. Ah! I would agree. I do indeed want some under the craft so I don't just kind of zoom. Goodbye! Ah! Well, ask in the chat for my beautiful car. It was full of wheels. Yes, indeed. Well. What the heck? I'm stuck! The only thing I can do is jump backwards off the cliff. Goodbye, cruel world. If I fall forever, I'm going to be real mad about this. Please tell me there's a death plane! Well, heck. What a beautiful skybox. Well. Yay! But yeah. While I attempt to find airship 2, because there is an airship 2. Robots Forever and Robots Forever 2. Walking House game. Rectangles. Ocean Plane. Post game. Plant Plane. Missile game. I know that there's an airships 2. Ah. Tabs 2017. Whatever. That was wild. So disorganized. I know, right? It's almost like archives should have organization and catalogs. But, alright, this is Airships 2. The Airships 1 was from 2017. This one is from 2018. So, shall we see if it does anything? Well, what's different here? Right? Immediately what's different is that they've made the different... They've made a very different space. Looks like it still probably has the same problem. It definitely has the same problem. Alright. I guess we'll just reload. So they haven't fixed that part of it. But there is a chance that they have fixed some of the other parts of it. Let's see, a propeller but big. An up controller. A turn controller, so a steering wheel. A speed controller, so a throttle. A very large gun. Which, by the way, for the record, I can't actually... I don't think I can scale the size of the item, of the Gatling gun. I don't think it scales. Tragic. I was gonna put a smaller gun on top of the... Mostly because I thought that would be very funny. But I didn't seem to get a say in the matter, so... Those there. And then we'll put a big propeller on the underneath. If I can. Does it not go on the underneath? I'm gonna make it go on the underneath. Fine, we'll put them up there. And we'll get a beam. There goes there. It has a very short crossbar. Scratch that. Several very short crossbars. With more propellers. And then small propellers. Just because the big ones weren't big enough. Or with a bit of luck, this won't have, you know, one thing that goes up and two things that go down. So, what happens if I use this? No? It's not gonna let me use it? We go to space! Oh god. We're going entirely too far into space. Gentle landing, gentle... Oh. Okay, so destructive physics exist. Duly noted. No one looked that direction. You saw nothing. Can you simply make a long enough beam? I would say the answer is no. No, you cannot. How much physics do I have? I seem to have zero physics. Goodbye! No, of course. Well, The idea was good. Propeller, propeller. And then we go... Firstly, an up controller. And then we go... Speed controller. Then we go scroll, scroll, scroll. Scroll, scroll, scroll. No? Then we go escape, and then we go scroll. And then we go scroll, scroll. Goodbye! I'm a god. I have made flight. Oh. I almost made flight. Indeed. Man, I wish I could do sick flips like that. What? Where we're going, we don't need physics. But hey. Try and make it catapult to launch myself. You mean just have no fear? Ah. I have no, come back! Come back, I need you! I don't seem to fling very good, do I? I seem to mostly just kind of get smushed. Oh, that did fling me, I just have to actually jump. That definitely is farther than a normal jump. Goodbye. Forgotten but not gone. I think it shouldn't be too hard to make a normal working airship. Well, yeah, but that's like no fun. Come on. Like, if you want me to make a normal working airship, fine. Have fun in space. Ow. I understand. Well, this is an interesting look at level geometry. Besiege, also Smash the Castle, also a few others. Not quite. I can't tell if this simply wasn't textured, or if I impacted the ground so hard I clipped through the texture. Oh, no, there's just no collision. Okay, yeah, there's just no collision on this island. We are underneath the grass. That's fabulous. But hey, look, as we think about, archaeological methods and doing excavations on games, getting out of bounds is actually a fantastic tool for that. So hey, we'll pretend this was intentional. Point of view, you are dirt. True. Right? Because it's one thing to look at an environment in the game and be like, yeah, okay, here's what might be happening, let's think about, I don't know, like a ruined castle, and you can walk around in the castle and do like a site examination and be like, yeah, this is ruined, here's what may have ruined it, here's what damage we're seeing, make a catalog that way. And then there's something like this, where if you just fully break out of the game, you can see all the underlying materials, right? And that's an entirely different sort of analysis on how do designers construct a space. Yeah, there's a couple channels that do out-of-bounds stuff. There's one that has like a really good series on Legend of Zelda, and out-of-bounds in those games. Oh, goodbye. Hey, I can still see my airship from there. Yeah. So hey, like that's a super cool behind-the-scenes option, right? If you can clip out of bounds, and this is a case where I think Archeo Gaming may learn a lot from speedrunners, because if you're out of bounds and you're just kind of, clip out of there, or fully mod in no clips, and then zoom out to look at the construction of the entire level, that's a completely different perspective and completely different data on what's being built, and if you're examining it as an archaeological site, right, what assumptions potentially are going into the construction to make the game space work. Impossible geometries, and other such junk. Weirdly clipped textures, being able to zoom in, look at stuff, all sorts of things. Anyway, though, we have been going for just over an hour, which means it is time for our first ad break. Zoe, I will answer that question when we come back while we are looking at more demos. What's the current field scholarship for Archeo Gaming? There's a lot. Turns out there's a lot. But yeah, we take an ad break basically every hour, so I can stand up, stretch, if needed, get more liquid. Not needed this time, but will be next time. So, do not go anywhere. I will leave you with these tunes, courtesy of Overclocked Remix, and our questing snails. And yeah, we'll be back very shortly. Alright, welcome back everyone. Hope you enjoyed that brief ad break. As a reminder, right, if you are getting ads outside of these times, let me know. You're not supposed to. But, Twitch does weird things. Anyway, if you're just tuning in, welcome to Ludo History. We are playing today the Landfall Archives, which is a kind of wrapped up series of prototypes, early vertical slices and demos, released by Landfall, the developers behind Totally Accurate Battle Simulator, showcasing their wonky physics and giving a kind of very rare sneak peek into what the early stages of creating a game is. And they're just shopping around ideas, concepts, mechanics. So, as people interested in, history in games and the archaeology of games, it is a kind of really cool look into some of these early development stages that we can use to kind of inform some of our other analysis. Plus, it's wrapped up in a very stereotypical aesthetic archive, which is great. So, a couple of questions in chat as we start making our way back into the game. What are vertical slices? You get prototypes, but that's a bit of a jargony term. That's actually a term that I only learned recently, but my understanding of what a vertical slice is that it is basically something that you can take to a potential publisher and be like, this is a complete packaged representation of what this game is going to be like. So, it's somewhere in between like a tech demo and like a playable demo in alpha build, but like a very small segment of the game that is going to be representative of the core gameplay loop, and aesthetics, and if necessary, or if relevant, like driving narrative, moment, and style of the game. It may not be something that ever makes it to, into the full game, though it often does. But it's kind of like the first, version meant for other people to see, as like a sales pitch. The other question, also from Zoe, had been, what is the current state of things for archeogaming? There is quite a bit, there's quite a bit of information, press space to spawn, on archeogaming, namely as like the archaeology of games, and it's both the archaeology of games and the archaeology within games. So, the treating of game spaces as archaeological spaces. Oh. I fell off the map. Boing. Boing. No. Do I have a double jump? I do have a double jump. That's important information, huh? Whee! Completely finished piece of game, and officially you mean finished with polished graphics, mechanics, audio, music, everything. Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah. Archeogaming. That's what I was talking about. It is, simultaneously the archaeology within gaming spaces, so using archaeological methods to analyze games, but also archaeology of games. That can often be things like data mining, where you're literally going into the code of the game to locate information, assets, whatever. And it can also frequently be oh, I clicked out of game. Blah. Blah. Sick flip. Whee. Whee. So. Ah. Someone else is in the game. Our multiplayer game is multiplayer. Ah, heck. No! Strictly speaking, go into data and assets, of which code is a subset. Yeah, that's fair. No, that was someone else spawned in. It's a multiplayer game. Just because we're completely indistinguishable doesn't mean that we don't exist. Oh. But yeah, this is a multiplayer game, so this looks like it's another kind of arena brawler, right? So you nominally have an attack, albeit a fairly goofy one. We have a dash. Oh. That being said, I did click into a different window there, so that's exciting. Please ignore. Please ignore the stream jank. Unity has a small issue wherein I am, very greatly struggling to stay clicked in. But yeah, archeogaming is both archaeology of the game as a human artifact, using digital humanities methods, and rolled. Archaeology within a game's world, accepting the fiction of the game. And that makes it a bit difficult to talk about, but Dr. Andrew Reinhardt, who is extremely cool, and I happy to call a colleague and acquaintance, is one of the big people to talk about here. But, you know, if Amit is in chat, I don't think they are today, but, you know, Amit and Alex Vanderwalla and the folks at the Save Ancient Studies Alliance are all archaeologists working in games, and so that just works. Oh, I have fully gone into Narnia now. Luckily, I'm a god, so it's fine. Ow. Stop it. No! No! Okay. What a game. Kickflip into the void. Whee! Whee! Okay. Well, that was an interesting experience for everyone. Yay! So, right, arcade gaming is a fairly young field overall, I'll be honest. Like, it is not... The big book on the subject is, I think, from 2018. I think that's when Andrew Reinhardt's book on it came out. It's a subset of historical game studies, the one that uses very different frameworks than traditional sort of literary or historical analysis. But one that is super intuitive, because a lot of people look at games and, you know, what's the first thing we're looking at? Well, materials, right? Game environments. And archaeology methods and archaeological surveys really intuitively gel with that. So, that's something that we actually see pretty regularly. We have a belt. That's not a belt. What universe is this about? Oh, gotcha. It sets it's another crafting game. Gun! Our house has guns on it. Pew pew. Pew pew. So, yeah, there's been a lot of work on it, fairly recently, particularly, right, in arcade gaming recently, particularly, there's a couple of conferences, including the, what is it, digital, it's coming up, like, next week. It's like the third, Medievalism's on the Screen is one that attracts a lot of arcade gaming people, and then there's several other big strands. There was a big strand in arcade gaming at the big regional archaeology conference too. I think, what, CDCC had one. And so there's a lot of people working in that space now. Bill Farley, who's been on the stream here actually, is one example. Oh, I can't stay that vertical. Good to know. No, please. Now. Now. Alright. Wolfie. Have a good night. Understandably, calling it a stream here both is probably very important because sleep. But yes. It is a very interesting space to exist in. Right. Understandably, arcade gaming is super interesting to exist in, because there's a lot that happens. And it's one that intuitively makes a lot of sense, right? Being able to look at this and go like, oh yes, the thing we're primarily concerned about with is the giant walking house. And how do people interact with the material culture of the giant walking house? And what does that actually mean and do for us? And all of that is much more archaeology than is history as such. That's gonna be too steep. I have no way to climb that. That's fine though. Should be able to make something right there that I can jump to. Then something right there that I can jump to. Something right there I can jump to. This is a bit scuffed, but dang it! It was going so well too. I do have a double jump. There we go. We are back inside the house. And by house I mean a house with legs. And guns. Gun? Oh god. Did I mention that the house has legs? Kaboom! Forward, we have mischief and mayhem to do. That's not forward, that feels like more awkwardly down. I'll be honest. That doesn't really feel like that's going the direction I intend for it to go. It's going in a sad circle. Whee! You're realizing that your understanding of the demarcation between history and archaeology is potentially a bit lacking. I may have broken it. Like, obviously they're related, but history, right, is concerned primarily with, writing. Kind of by necessity. It seems to list pretty badly, I'm not going to lie. Bang! I'll be honest, I'm not sure this house is having a very good time. I'm not sure this exactly. Something Baba Yaga. Yep. Pretty clearly this is a Baba Yaga game. But with a gun! It also seems to be a little bit stuck in place. But it's neither here nor there. So yeah, right, archaeology, unlike history, which is concerned about primarily text and what people have written or told, is concerned first and foremost with the objects that are left behind. Ah. Someone is shooting at me. This is fine. Everything is fine here. What is there beneath Death Laser? Okay. Death Laser! Oh. I'm immortal! You fool! I am immortal. The giant Death Laser is interesting. So... yeah. I don't know that I have anything new to... If you're understanding right, his archaeology primarily understands path through remnants of the past material culture, while history's primary lens is textual. Exactly. And obviously, that means history and archaeology both have types of survivorship bias. You know, wherein history tends to privilege the literate. Though efforts have been made, especially since the 1960s, to fix that. And to improve that whole situation. Archaeology, meanwhile, has the bias of, you know, what survives. So, inorganic things. It can. It doesn't usually, Zoe. If it thinks about texts, right, it tends to think about texts in terms of, right, book history. Namely, a very materialist lens, looking at the physical preservation of the book, though typically, right, you could also look at epigraphy as a subset of archaeology, runology as subsets of archaeology. So, right, inscribed texts into stone and wood in particular, tend to be classified more under archaeology, while things by books, things made out of paper or parchment, tend to be a little bit more considered history, which is not at all a neat or sensible demarcation, but it's where we're at anyway. How do fields like fashion history that look at stuff? A reasonable question. This one, however, has music, so I need to kill the music real fast. Belt up. Into, of course, my funnel. Give me a box. Post nerd. Well, that may not have worked super good. Why don't you not have a... Well, that's not going to work. There's no way that this will go badly whatsoever. And if we go up... And so, yeah, we get this sort of... I don't know. Classic. Flawless victory. I think that should help our cause. Look at how good we are. I don't know what this does, but it does something. Well, that broke everything. Yes, indeed. Well, that almost worked. Let's try that one more time with feeling. Come on, raise up. Open up. Yes, indeed! It's beautiful. A lot of historical textiles and other clothing items don't really survive very well, so textual descriptions are important, but so are artistic representation in sculpture, paintings, etc., which brings that into art history rather than history or archaeology. Exactly, because, by the way, art history is its own thing. For reasons. So yes, this is something that, this is a classification, yeah. Look, no one said it was good, just that it existed and we had to live with it. Oh man, this could get extremely, extremely complex, extremely fast. Oh, I am out of cash. So yeah, where did it go? Where did I put it? Why are there things out there? I don't think this is going to work very good. Factorio meets Amazon. Specifically, it meets Post-Nerd. But yes, it does kind of a little bit meet Amazon. They just fall off the machine. Ah! Oh, so IKEA. Exactly. Ah! I may not have made a very good system. I'll be honest. I may not be winning any awards here for the quality of my system. But what an extremely fun game. That's already clearly a much more polished slice than everyone else. In Swedish, yes. IKEA is IKEA. But that is a much more polished game than most of the other things here. That clearly was meant as a, like, definitive vertical slice of, hey, here's what the core gameplay loop of our game is. And so they did. And that's good. That's a very fun game. It's also like Mini Metro is in this vein. Factorio's obviously in this vein. The horrible ennui of working for global shipping companies is in this vein. Wait. Anyway. Right, as we look at sort of the process of polishing games, like that's much more polished than a lot of this stuff. And clearly you can see a lot more care and design and influence. Right, they specifically reference the Swedish postal system. Well, you know, that makes its thing fairly transparent. This core gameplay loop is the Swedish postal system. Then hey. See, Zoe, that would be great if we were playing up being like an indie publisher. But we think all of these have value here because they are showcasing something that we don't get to see in games very often. Right? Like, I don't know, I talked about when we were playing Elden Ring way back when, about some of the differences between an arcade gaming method and some of the other theoretical frameworks you could bring to a game. Some of those other ones, right, thinking about, you know, social histories or gender and indigeneity, some of those, right, bring very different perspectives even into some of these extremely basic prototypes. And so, being clear on what the assumptions being made are, right, when you strip away so much of the extra content and fluff and material that makes games hard to analyze, what I see here is ways to dig into the core mechanical assumptions and be like, hey, what's up? And so, I don't know, the game we just played, the little postal game demo. Super fun, super polished, lets you create really fun industrialized things. Also, has no people, so has erased human labor from everything. Anyway, this is basically a slide deck. Can you physics everything? Who is Wilhelm Newland? I worked on tabs, stick fight, totally accurate battlegrounds, and cluster truck. Cluster truck's a very fun game, y'all. Spring damper. Whee. Velocity. Positive equals target value minus value times spring. Velocity minus equals velocity times drag, and value plus equals velocity. Whee. And that makes it just do spring. Spring. If you do a little spring, it just does a little spring. But if you do a big spring, it does a bigger spring. UI. Can you physics? Spawn. Thanks for coming to my talk. Thanks for my coming to talk. Thanks for coming. My talk to. Note 2. Future. Wilhelm. Wilhelm, I know future. Remember to add funny text here. Flawless. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, I broke it. There's a hard limit to how many things you can put in here. At some point it just fills up. Like I can't add anything more, because it's just full. And yet the way it falls actually has physics. This is delightful. Okay, go away, go away, go away. Can you physics screen shake? Oh. Sprung. Sprung. So if I turn this up... I can affect how quickly the screen shakes, it looks like. Yeah, that just creates a less intense initial boing versus a much more intense one. Oh! Oh no, what have I done? Help. Help. Oh god, it's stuck. Help, help. No, no, stop. No. And now there's no screen shake at all. If I go all this way. Huh? Interesting. So this is a lot of force, but also a lot of rigidity. Oh, no. Oh god, this is a mistake. This is a terrible mistake. Help. Seasickness generator. True. Oh god, it's still stuck. In the previous level. Please ignore the void. Please ignore the... help. So much nicer. Alright, we need a little bit of a damper on that, apparently. Arrow wobble. Can you physics prop placement? Now, this is the one that's super interesting. Can you physics prop placement? Well, if you yeet some stuff up there, the physics engine's gonna take control of it and say, hey, how does all this stuff... Hello, Void. Move. How does all of this stuff, when it hits the ground, move and settle into place? This is super cool, right? Like, this is super cool to me. Now, here's a bad question, chat. Is this a stupid idea? Or is this a great idea? So this is like impact force, it looks like. We turned that damper almost into pain zone. Wow, look at that X-Shake go. Look at it go. Alright. How does this change it, if at all? Does this change anything at all? This may not change anything at all. But hey, look, you just fling some stuff down there. And all of a sudden, you're left with an actual interesting environment, right? Just by virtue of it popped up some stuff, and the physics engine took over, and told you, what are these rocks gonna do? Well, that rock's too big and weird for this environment, so it goes away. Now, chat. The applications here for imagining archeo-gamed spaces, and I guess, archeo-gamed environments specifically. Like, imagine a ruined castle, where the physics engine dictated where the ruins go. Right? So you start off with something, you build an idea, and then you blow it up, and let the physics engine dictate where things are going to end up. Imagine how that changes the environment over something where it's all constructed. Right? Or you use the physics engine to simulate a weathering effect. Where you said, hey, right, here's the thing. Now we're going to run it under a steady wind for X long, and we're going to see how given certain aspects of friction, other stuff, you know, maybe we use that to weather some assets. So you build it out of a bunch of very small, like, voxels, basically. And then you say, hey, those can get removed in our asset creation. Let's just run it under a steady wind and see what the physics engine does to it with X, Y, Z friction tools, strength of wind, all that stuff. Right? The amount of applications that thinking about it in terms of physics, rather in terms of a literally constructed environment, has, actually pretty impressive. Right, there's a lot you can do here with historical environments. There's a lot here I think you can do analytically with imagining if you can spot kind of physics engine placements. The sort of argumentation you can make out of that, and the different analysis you can make off of that, depending on what are they using the physics to do, and what are they not using the physics to do. And that's it. Yay! Alright, chat. Oh, it's like how they made such a rigorous no engine they were pleased to gain insight into the Dyatlov Pass incident. Exactly. Right, definitely a case where there is that sort of interplay and that relationship between technology and historical analysis. Oh. I don't like this. Why is embrace a command? Wobble. Are you going to wobble or not? Wobble. I hate that they talk at you. Ugh. I hate how they talk at you. I know you're still hearing the music. There's minimal... I think there is minimal stuff happening here musically. Let's see. See, that's worse. That's worse. Right? Creepy monotones is worse than the music, right? Right? No, thank you. You're going to figure out how to get over this dang thing? Yeah? 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 Look, just because this... You probably can't hear the game audio, can you? I don't think you can. What will be the correct one there? I guess that. POV, you're a psychopath trying to lead all these ghosts to the afterlife? Yeah. That sounds about right. Their next just did a one. Yes. Zoom.
Follow.
Come on. Go, go, go. Yeah, look at him go. Come on. I believe in you all. Come on. I believe. I believe. Nailed it.
Yes, please.
Why did you say yes, please? Dang it. Let me in. Oh, well, I fear I may have soft walked.
With me.
Nope, there we go, that's enough. How are these guys more scary than when they did a zombie game? True. Genuinely unnerving. The liminal void certainly does not hurt. Like, the fact that there is the red-orange blue void really does not hurt the uncanniness and creepy factor. Because you are just in the concrete ether forever. And I hate it.
Follow.
I hate that they're here. Please don't open doors with your oh. Well, that went my Wednesday night.
Horses, lie down.
Lie down.
Stand still. Correct. The horses stand still.
Hello, Nidofiend. We are standing still because the orb says stand still.
Thank you. Lie down.
I should get them all in here.
Thank you.
Follow.
Stand still. That's
Here. You are all going to stand next to the orb. And I'm going to assume it's an uncanny Simon Says. Orb.
Stop.
Of course, of course.
Hello, orb? Orb, are you okay?
Push. Come.
Yes, please.
Follow.
We're gonna troll the orb. Now, get the orb out of the hole. I'll get the orb over here if I can. No? Well, that was terrible. That was
Stop.
absolutely horrifying. 0 out of 10. I mean, 10 out of 10. The atmosphere work is amazing. Even with nothing here, the atmosphere work is excellent. But, straight up not having a good time. Alright. Another thing, do I like Total War games? I haven't played a ton of Total War games. Like, overall, like, I like the genre, but they're not a game I have the time to invest in to get good. So, I have not invested that time. Because, yeah, why would... Oh, perfect. I know exactly what I want to do.
Follow.
You fools! Come here! I am traveling into the void. Forever. And ever. And ever. And you do not belong. Come on. Whee! Flawless. Ah! Ah! Okay. Well, there's that. That sure was a game that existed. Yep. Yep. Definitely. Definitely existed. Yay! Okay. I think maybe we check out just like one more. Because there isn't all that much to see besides there's a bunch of really fun weird ones. Now the advantage of there being lots of fun weird ones is of course that this game is free. This game costs a grand total of nothing. So as if there's any demos that are like, hey, I want to just see what this feels like myself, see what we can learn from it, I don't have to play them all here because there is the option of, you know, doing it yourself. Whee! Well, I died. Tragic. So this last one is called Plant Plane. I think its name describes it quite accurately. Oof. Oh. Turns out that there's no collision! The walls don't have collision, that makes steering difficult. Extremely difficult. Oh no. What have I done? 3D Flappy Bird? More like an endless runner. This is much more of an endless runner than it is a Flappy Bird alike. But, you know, the fact that it's growing plants in an industrial wasteland is very nice. Oh. The fact that there's no collision is not so nice. Like Chase the Sun meets Flower, exactly. That's a great summary. And so, I mean, you can get something out like a cozy mobile game aesthetic out of this. Right, quite successfully, I think. You could be like, hey, here's a cozy mobile game for your cozy mobile gaming needs. Then you go fling. And you're like, wow. And then we cut this one a bit short because we're cheat. Oh. Maybe not quite that short. This is honestly already super fun. Like, an endless runner that isn't like bad and weird, definitely very fun. But also, like the kind of aesthetic of the endless void, and then the green on top of it, just works for me. It just does it. Heck, heck, not again. And another case of, right, you can see maybe where there's some archaeological analysis that you could do off of this. Both by looking at comparing the old layer, right? Especially if this turned into a final thing with different sort of overall aesthetics, right? You could definitely do an analysis that compares the like early builds here in these vertical slices into these final to this final version, and be able to make some sort of analysis about, you know, what are, I don't know, settlement layers. I did this exact same thing as I did last time. Dang it. Arash cover. Hello. But like this could be super fun, super cozy. And right, with all of these early builds, you can do that sort of thing where you're like, hey, you know, what is the significance of certain design choices? What things are old layers in the game, right? What things are very much, right, part of the initial construction of the build? Which ones are very much part of the initial design? And which things are kind of things that were added later on in development? A leftist Pope, thank you for the raid with your party of 4. A warm welcome to you, and Distressed Owls in the chat to welcome all of our surprise raiders. We are checking out a game called the Landfall Archives, which the folks behind Totally Accurate Battle Simulator released a bunch of demos of various games that they've made, or various like vertical slices, prototypes, and all sorts of little snippets of games that they've tested, tried, and made over the years. Released them as a free game, and I took one look at this aesthetic, at this completely bonkers archive. I was like, I gotta check this out. My training is in addition to history, is in archival science and cultural heritage. So I look at this, I'm like, yes, you are targeting me, and me specifically. But also, so few games give us like a good, or game studios gives a good look into the early development process. Like, so few studios give us that. So when we approach a finished game, we're just like, yeah, if we're trying to analyze it, rather than just kind of play it, you're like, oh, there's a... You have to make some guesses as to what the core design is, what they thought was made first, what they thought was the basic assumption when they were pitching the game, and what was stuff that they added or scoped crept its way in. Oh. This lets us actually check. Sounds awesome, your Platinum playthrough inspired me to make my own. Well, that's amazing. So this is like the original build of Totally Accurate Battle Simulator, which is great. Right, if you haven't played Tabs, Tabs is fantastic. Tabs is very silly, but Tabs is fantastic. Tabs 2017 appears to mostly be crashing. Well, Tabs 2017 is an unstable mess. This is a site that you cannot excavate because it does not run stably. Tragic. So yeah, I think though we are coming up towards the end of the stream. Let's take a look at one more. Let's take a look at one more. See if we can get some core design stuffs. Physics fighter. RTS card game, rectangles, ocean plane, auction brawl, rounds 3D, missile game, blob game, and creepy robots. Rectangles. Hello? Shay. There we go. Potentially. 3 soldiers per teams, 3 teams, accept. So, we can jump and we can shoot.
Let's rock and roll.
We can shoot. And then we can jump. Oh, heck.
Rock and roll. Ready.
Kaboom! Wow! Person's a tank. They're indestructible.
Hi,
Ah!
I'm here.
I blasted someone through a space. That's hilarious. Fantastic. Another very finished game, right? Oh! Explosions. The murder and mayhem and death. Fantastic. Just absolutely mauling everyone here.
Ready. Let's rock and roll.
Again, green team wins. So, I mean, that's just a good game right there. That's just a good game. There's a remarkable amount of personality in those. Oh, that is playing again. No, no, don't play again. I do not need the rectangles to play again. Go away. Remarkable amount of personality for the rectangles. Yeah, there sure is. It's great fun. Right, that one reminds me a lot of, you know, Rounds, Worms, Armageddon, bunch of stuff like that. So that is not a shock. Blob game? Kadesh, do you want to see Blob game? I don't really want to see Blob game, but, be prepared. I want to be very far away from the Blob.
Did you see the boss's new car? Yeah, it's nice, right? Looks super cool. Anyway, yeah. Test subject 485. Please start your test.
You mind being a darling, tossing my cubes down the hole? It must be done. Put them down the hole, Those that's it. Yeah. Goody. Those cubes were poisonous, and by putting them in the hole, you now enable me to eat your tender body.
No. Mm-mm. Please don't. Kadesh, I blame you.
I can't find the testing papers about this. I'll just call it Blob Monster with Cubes. Good luck in there.
I blame you. You blame you. Good! As long as we are on the same page as to who gets blamed.
You mind being a darling and tossing my cubes down the hole? It must be done. No. You're poisonous. Death is coming. You're poisonous.
Well, that didn't work.
Mike,
This is
Delta,
both...
Foxtrot. I don't know what this means. Whatever. Let's just go.
This is both more and less disturbing than the wobble people. True.
Take my cubes and put them in the hole.
No thanks.
It must be done.
What if I put me in the hole? Yeah.
I can't find it.
I don't have anything clever to say about that one. I'll be honest. Something about the, you know, horrible, distressing blob people. Yay! Oh. I can almost get close enough to read this. What do you say? This is code. Fig.add force something, string of numbers, trust, physics dot, one of the bottom lines there, actually let's try and do the very bottom line. Fig dot velocity, something velocity, project on plane, something velocity hit normal. This is code. People were saying this wasn't code. These are code snippets. They're just formatted weird. Yeah. It's formatted like... Actually, it's not formatted like a stage or a film script. It's formatted like... typewritten letters. Sort of. Those also do tend to left align rather than center align, but they're definitely... They remind me a lot of archival letters I've seen, of like internal memos, communication, stuff like that. Now, we are coming up on the end here, because I don't think we're going to try every single one. I think we've gotten a sense of what the Landfall Archives has to offer. And what it has to offer is a lot of really interesting glimpses at early ideas, many of which are not necessarily turning into anything. They're just very early, very interesting ideas. And so, with those very early ideas, right, we get a glimpse into what are like the core things that are driving this studio. And the answer is physics, for this particular studio. There's a good amount of stuff, though, that is, to some extent, right, if you have this kind of documentation, you know what the studio's priorities are and what they're thinking of first when they're making games. Right? Is it an aesthetic that comes first? Is it a gameplay element that comes first? Is it a time period that comes first? And when you have that, right, when you start to get those very basic elements of what will become a game, you get a really good look at what's important. Additionally, in that very quick look at what's important, you do get, when it's pared down this far, you get a good look at what are like the basic elemental assumptions in creating an environment. So, I mean, in this environment, well, the basic things it needs to be an archive is filing cabinets, papers, and an access point. Specifically an image of the archive as archaic, and filing cabinets as like the wall of potential treasures in amongst a bunch of useless stuff. So, it ends up being very, very stereotypical. And also the, you know, kind of empty, boring, inhuman room ends up being a big part of that. So that's super interesting. Obviously, that's not... Let me out! Let me out! I turned off the lights. That's obviously not what archives are in reality, but by looking at the game's assumptions, right, the super pared back aesthetic of what's the set piece, what's the wrapper, what's the moment, you get a really interesting peek at what they think is important. And that's kind of cool. So yeah, this was kind of an experimental thing, right? I just saw the game, I was like, that looks like a fun one to just kind of ramble through, try some stuff, and ramble a little bit about Archeo gaming, and archives design, and what these like super early bits of games show us. So if you like this sort of thing, let me know, because I mean it's definitely interesting. I don't know how often that's something that's possible or super valuable to do, but I think there is interesting potential there. So if that's content you like, definitely let me know. Otherwise, though, just make sure you are followed if you haven't yet, and that you consider supporting the channel by subscribing, because we do a wide array of content related to history and gaming. So, if this is your jam, you want this. This was a delightful stream. Even the blob. I'll admit, right, the pals and the blob were not super delightful, but they were interesting, and that's good. So yeah, we'll probably be kind of off until this weekend, but we'll try and be back Saturday with more good, fun, chill stuff. So I will see you all then, and until then, have a good start to your week, or have a good rest of your evening, and yeah, good night.